going to begin with a short prayer led by Don Gall.
Will you join me as we come together in an attitude of gratitude and reflect on the servant leadership of Pastor Jonathan for these past 9.5 years. Called and installed in 2013 as our preacher, teacher, pastor, and priest, he, together with his faithful partner in ministry, Lisa, now stand before us as we bid one another goodbye. May the spirit of gratitude permeate this gathering of friends, as together we reflect and give thanks for all the gifts of ministry, both given and received. And may the memories of this day warm our hearts and theirs as they return to the place of the rising sun and the icy chills of the New England winter. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Don.
Mary, do you want anything to drink?
So I just want to welcome you here. We have a very wonderful group of people who want to share their thoughts about Jonathan and Lisa. Can't hear? I'm gonna have to do that. And how's that?
Better.
Thank you. So we're going to have a series of tributes, and they're going to be 3 minutes apiece, and we even have the old vaudeville hook available just in case. And so the order is going to be starting with Priscilla Gould, and she's right here, and then we're going to go with Robin Detmer, and then Tony Foy and Pete Peterson, Emma Standish, Jenny Allen, John Soper, Martha Moultrie and Kimberly Partichevsky, Mark Lindberg, and finally Polly Shannon. So position yourself appropriately to come on up when the time is right. And we start with Priscilla.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you all. I'm going to try and set an example by being brief and focused. I'm chair of the Personnel Committee for FCC. Can you hear me all right? No. How's this? Is this better? Can you hear me now? Okay, right in the face. I'm chair of the Personnel Committee for FCC. I work with Polly Shannon and Steve Carmichael on that small but mighty team. And over the years, I've had the honor to work with a few others with Jonathan. Pete Gripsko was on that team, Dennis Lees, Louis Noshi, am I saying that wrong? And Todd Chapman. I've worked with all of them, and it's my pleasure to speak on their behalf about the amazing work that Jonathan does in caring for the flock of the staff. Working so closely with Jonathan on matters that affect the staff team in a confidential context has given us the opportunity to see his love of FCC on full display. Jonathan brought wisdom, love, humor, insight, grace to all our discussions about policy, yes, and hiring, budget, and the needs of individuals. Policy and hiring can be pretty dull stuff. Jonathan's presence assured that each question and issue was approached with the full respect for the human beings who are going to be affected now and in the future. In his role as staff lead, Jonathan brought issues of concern to the committee in a timely fashion and then dealt with the challenges promptly. We just had to give him some guidance. So we had the easy part of the job. He did not shy away from difficult conversations. He was quick to give thanks and credit to members of the team. Few in this room would be surprised when I closed by noting how Jonathan put the needs of FCC first. He was ever mindful of the church's future. And as you can imagine, there are some very painful decisions to be made on occasion. The staff were never simply job roles, but they were fully complex human beings. His concern for what is best for the staff, what is best for the future of FCC, that's Jonathan's true north. His grace as a leader has been an inspiration to us all. And I know I speak for the entire personnel team and those who've worked with him in the past in this role. Thank you. It's been an honor to partner with you and to support you as you shepherd our very small but special staff flock. Your gentle wisdom will be greatly missed.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me if I'm here? No, I have to shout. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. I want to say a heartfelt thank you from all the seekers, all the groups that we've had here at FCC. Jonathan started Seekers, some of you were a part of it, as a pilot several years ago, as a place for looking at life's big questions and deepening spiritual connection. His vision was to have a group where we could have heart-centered discussions, and they were spiritually led in nature but not religious. He envisioned eventually creating groups outside of the community of FCC, and people could come who were not comfortable in a church building, but longed for interpersonal connection and spiritual growth. In February 21, when COVID was rearing its ugly head, we started a group on Zoom with Jean Stover assisting Jonathan and I, and we expanded it from our original tiny pilot group to a bigger group and had about 20 join us over Zoom. It was amazing to see how we could create, even over Zoom, a sacred space where people shared and were open-hearted, and people said it was hugely important, and especially during that time of COVID when everybody was really isolated. It was sort of a lifeboat for many of us. So, thank you. And in 2022, this last year, just sort of culminating at the holidays, we had an in-person group. We were finally able to meet in person, and we had some of those original seekers, and we also had a handful of people from the community that were not part of the church. So we did what we wanted a little bit, and then we had other people from the church join us too, and we had a really meaningful group, discussed lots of topics, things like longing for more personal connection with the divine, something we could actually feel, the blessings of a broken heart and the awakening of a broken heart, how to be internally still when everything outside of us is chaotic, how to step out of the triangle of disempowerment and stop being victims, and how to experience joy by being open to all of it, the heartache and everything else. The Seekers group is extremely grateful. I'm extremely grateful to Jonathan for his openness and his ability to sort of see a vision of spirituality beyond just like the religious biblical context. His presence was grace-filled, open-hearted. He was vulnerable in his own sharing and always really created a space for all of us to just come as we were. He didn't impose his own will on us. He just followed the grace and the spirit in the room and allowed the group to sort of flow, which takes a special sort of person, I think, to not try to force things to happen. And it was beautiful. Those of us who were part of it can attest to the grace in the room and the spirit really leading us. He was always open and encouraging to topics I brought forward and never made me feel less than him as a co-leader, which was lovely. So thank you, Jonathan, for your grace-filled presence and your vision, your caring, and your grace. And it will live on in the hearts of all of us who are part of it and hopefully in further groups. Thank you.
Now, Tony and Pete, a minute and a half apiece.
3 minutes each. Well, Jonathan, it's all your fault. Unintentionally or not, you dared to mess with the old, staid, traditional model of men's Bible study, and we're so grateful. We'd like to share excerpts from the thank you notes that MBS members have written on the occasion of your retirement.
One member writes, quote, MBS was not a top-down meeting. as I've experienced at other churches. Yes, we learn from you, and we also learn from each other, and that's a tribute to your leadership style.
Quote, your style was always supportive, honest, forthcoming, sincere, both wise and open to other people's ideas.
Quote, you're full of empathy with an inexhaustible supply of optimism and goodwill.
So it's no wonder that the 13 to 18 to 20 of us, depends on which Wednesday it was, were so eager to meet on Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. to discuss issues which were, quote, and you were welcoming, candid, engaging, relevant, and sometimes a little irreverent. Exchanges out of the challenges involved in becoming followers of Christ.
Jonathan, every single thank you note attributes your Bible study style to your personal warmth, your joyful, easily conversive personality, and as one put it, quote, your genuine trust in the primary importance of social justice themes at the core of Christianity.
Quote, you were and are a great example of living in the way of Jesus, intelligent and poignant, but not highfalutin, considerate and empathic, but never overly sentimental nor superficial. You were earnest and genuine, not pretentious or showy.
For instance, contrary to what many people expect of a man of cloth, you said, quote, I never experienced a personal Christ conversion. In fact, you acknowledged, quote, my first choice of career was to be a race car driver.
You said, quote, when a stranger strikes up a conversation and asks me what I do for a living, I tell them I work for a nonprofit.
And you acknowledged the pitfalls of always trying to be a very courteous New Englander. That once, while shopping at Costco or Jerry's, a provocatively dressed woman came up to you and invited you to a party with some other ladies. Of course, you were gracious and said, quote, that's very kind, but no thank you.
She came back later suggesting that just the two of you could have a good time. Smiling again, you said, no thanks.
And on her third approach, she offered her business card. You told us that, quote, out of courtesy, I almost accepted the card.
True, every once in a while we may have been a little naughty. But one member says, quote, you knew how to walk the line between being accommodating and inclusive and making sure we stayed on task with the lectionary texts.
If the pastor could be so obviously down to earth, couldn't we all feel as though we could even share confidential facts about ourselves?
One man who is not a member of this church said, quote, your pastoral confidence and your sense of trust has allowed me at this late stage in my life to freely talk about and share things that I had never shared before in any setting to anyone.
This feeling of trust extended beyond our 1-hour meetings. One member writes, quote, you have cultivated a practice of checking in with each other.
He continues saying, what this gave us was a strong personal bond with each other. As each of us ages, we encounter physical, emotional, and spiritual challenges. Many of the most precious times in Bible study have been the personal sharing of members about personal health events, family crises, and reactions to tragedies. These often made time stand still. I so appreciate the priority you have given to this important bonding experience among our members.
Similarly, another member writes, quote, your comfort with technology enabled you to be in the office and present whenever you had your cell phone.
When we were ill at home or in the hospital, you showed up or you called, no matter how full your schedule. And you were truly present with our dying brothers and or their families. Greg Howard, Bill Flynn, Jacob Veldhusen, Galen Hawkinson,
Robert McLaughlin, Mike Fales, Charles Shull, Hank Disney, and Don King.
At a very special time of need, quote, Jonathan, you are not our pastor, but simply Jonathan, a member of our weekly group who allowed us to know what it feels like to be emotionally upset, to tell us your feelings. You allowed yourself to be vulnerable, equally human with us, especially during the time when you lost both sisters.
We believe you are evolving, and just like us, in our understanding of how spiritual language has and is evolving, and how it can open our eyes even wider than we think.
You have a heart of a pastor, quote, warm, caring, and eager to assist others through times of illness, emotional stress, and moral bewilderment.
As one man says, quote, you were and are a very good shepherd.
Quote, your push to carry out the directions of Jesus in our lives and actions will always come to mind when I hear or think about your benediction. The worship has now ended, that our service may begin. I'll whisper that message to myself, even if it doesn't come from the pulpit, and I'll think of you with such fondness and gratitude.
Quote, you built and led a church family and community that are the center of my life.
Men's Bible study members send you God's continuing blessings, Jonathan.
Be well.
Best wishes for a happy and long retirement on the East Coast.
We wish you and Lisa and all of your family the best in your new journey.
Warmest wishes.
Peace and joy to you.
Thank you. Many, many thanks, dear brother Jonathan.
Okay, I'm hoping I can make it through this. As I was talking with Joni, I too possess the crime gene. So it has been my pleasure to know Jonathan for 7 years. I've had the honor of loving him for 5. Jonathan became my supervisor in 2017 and immediately made his confidence in me known. Whether good or hard times, Jonathan was always there to listen, ask me what I thought, offer suggestions, but he always let me steer the ship that is CPS through uncharted waters to the choppy shoreline that the pandemic has left us in. When I went through the hardest change in my personal life, Jonathan was there with an ear to listen, a shoulder to cry on, and a few choice words. Jonathan has not only been an amazing mentor, but has also become a dear friend. Jonathan and Lisa, thank you for blessing this church, preschool, and me with your wisdom and kindness. I am forever grateful for the chance to know and love you.
Hello, everybody. Take this off. This was the wrong day to wear mascara. I'm just saying. I am up here because to represent the housing initiative. So our committee currently is Bab Sullivan, David Hazen, Brenda Kamianui, Lloyd Hopper, Jean Stover, but we've had many of you over the last 9.5 years. Oh, sorry. We've had many of you be on our committee during the last 9.5 years. As Jonathan took part of what I was going to say at the end of the service, there was a visioning process we went through in 2014 that with the board and the foundation and the staff. And one of the things was that Jonathan's encouragement and leadership throughout that visioning process was instrumental as our church figured out which direction it was going to go then. We're always reinventing ourselves. It's okay. One emphasis that bubbled up at that time was shelter. That was important to our congregation and our church. And that is my focus today. The shelter team formed with people that Jonathan recruited from the church who were already involved in various programs in the community to begin with. So we could start a discussion on where we wanted to go with this word, shelter. The shelter team was off and running almost immediately. Jonathan made sure that our communication with all parties involved were always at the forefront of our plans. In 2015, someone came to Jonathan about the car camping program that was available in town, and he encouraged us to check it out and to work with the board and develop policy and implementation plans, which we did. We changed our name to the Housing Initiative and promptly had the opportunity to participate in interfaith build with the Habitat for Humanity. Jonathan became the contact for Martinez family throughout the Habitat build and continued to provide for pastoral services for them. We combined the Habitat project with community-supported shelters, as John mentioned earlier, which we helped fund and send working teams to build Conestoga huts at the UT Mission to house veterans. We also donated money towards tiny homes at Emerald Village. So that was our first 3 projects all in 1 year. But as there are many things that have happened over the years, but as you know, our biggest project was Parkside, our homes outside. Jonathan supported this project from the beginning and through the years of our preparatory work. The Housing Initiative team worked tirelessly. The question was, how could we put housing on our property? What would it look like? What could we do? We ran through lots of different things. We would find an option and work towards it, and the door would close. Jonathan would remind us that God would open another door if it was meant to be. Well, it opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed. We went through quite a process. And finally, the door stayed open and 2 homes arrived on our property. Jonathan made the connections and visits with St. Vincent de Paul during the challenging time when the residency did not work out. And after, when we were all eager to see the houses occupied again. And as you heard, we do have people coming in soon. Yay. As a leader, Jonathan is able to stay focused and mission-driven, reminding us of what's most important in our work when we get distracted. He encouraged us to stay oriented to God and to the bigger picture, while not letting us forget how important each detail of a new home could be. He's always laid back and supports through his relaxed confidence in the talents of others, the church. Jonathan believed in this project and had the ability to see others through their development of faith in the Housing Initiative as well. Thank you, Jonathan, for your unwavering support for the Housing Initiative.
I actually have 2 hats to wear today, but I'm not asking for twice as much time. Don't worry about that. I represent, first of all, the Endowment Committee, and we've collected our thoughts together, and here are some of our thoughts and wishes. One of Jonathan's greatest strengths is his skill in reaching out to people in need. During the pandemic, he was tireless in finding ways to touch base with people, to make sure they were okay, and to see if the church could provide any service to them. Before and after the pandemic, one of his greatest pleasures seemed to be making connections. He and Lisa have a strong sense of hospitality, accommodating overnight guests, coming to town for some church activity. At one point, they took in a homeless mother and children till they could get help. Jonathan's photo skills have been a wonderful resource for the daily email to the congregation and to Sunday church bulletins. Lisa never failed to use her nursing skills to help elderly or people needing medical attention. In the early days of Wednesday night suppers and third act, she did the meal planning, shopping, and preparation. During COVID, she packaged up holiday activities for kids, and of course, we all appreciated when she sang. The Endowment Committee has been blessed with Jonathan's guiding us with calmness, clarity, and grace as we transform the way the church manages its endowed assets and makes grants to both benefit the operation of the church and to benefit high school graduating seniors who are pursuing higher education. We wish you and Lisa joy and peace as you enter the next phase of your lives. And the Endowment Committee is Trish Chapman, Dan Close, Lynn Helsvig, Dean Cokier, Martha Pitts, and me. Other hat, the Financial Committee, the Financial Management Committee. Similarly, collected thoughts. Jonathan, you are deeply committed to this church and its many ministries, always available and open to new ideas, an excellent listener, a person who cares greatly for our brothers and sisters, sets an example of love, dedication, caring, and commitment that we strive to follow. Jonathan, the way you handled the online streaming of services and other aspects of FCC life during the pandemic was remarkable. In particular was your coordination and production of the musical elements of services. But Jonathan, you managed them all. Jared, Barbara, Vicki, and I, and we'll add Martha, and framed our talents in the online environment so as to recall the beauty of the sanctuary experience. Thank you for keeping the spirit of FCC bright through those difficult times. John was very adept in working with the internet. With the assistance of CIS, our partner in El Salvador, you developed the first video of our scholarship students on the island of Tasahara for our congregates to view. It was very successful and well received by church members, especially when they could really visualize what we had going there. Lisa, your angelic voice, just singing near her inspires and moves me. No one else like her. Very committed to our church in an under-the-radar way. She humbly takes charge with behind-the-scenes needs. She is willing to hold vigil and sing with so many of our members who are near the end of their earthly lives. It's so inspiring to me. And Lisa, you have been such an angelic addition to the long tradition of musical excellence in our services. When we first heard you in church, I thought you were a hired professional. I was set straight. Lisa was very instrumental in helping to orchestrate the outdoor worship services during COVID. This included safe seating, spacing of the chairs, and signs for our congregants to follow. She was also our nurse representative for our COVID protocol committee, providing the latest thinking and protocol in medical settings during COVID. Often her thoughts and insight were used in determining our COVID policy protocol. Lisa and John are an inspirational couple. For so many years, they have supported each other through all the ups and downs in loving ways. It is truly beautiful to watch. The Financial Management Committee has only been in existence since September of this year, so there's not much history to reflect on, but there is much to be thankful for. Jonathan returned from his sabbatical to begin dealing with an entirely new group of people trying to get organized, and almost immediately faced major issues regarding projected budget deficits. These issues would force the congregation to confront fundamental questions about the future life of this church, and would come to profoundly impact Jonathan, his family, and their future directly, as the reason we are here today. Throughout the whole ordeal, he guided the committee with calmness, clarity, and grace that was an inspiration to us all. He consistently put aside consideration of his personal welfare in favor of what would be good for the church and for its future. It is hard to imagine a more Christ-like approach to the hard decisions made than the example shown us by Jonathan during these past 3 months. The church is and will remain in your debt long after you and Lisa are gone from our presence. Godspeed, Jonathan and Lisa. Then the committee is Brent Arnold, Kim Dorr, Larry Flick, Vic Mann, Polly Shannon, Gene Stover, and me. And again, thank you for your calm and graceful leadership over these past years.
I've come to realize, especially watching Jonathan these last few years, that we ask an awful lot of our ministers. As members of the Adult Education Committee, we were thrilled to have Jonathan join our meetings, especially after Melanie left FCC. It didn't take long to realize the amount of effort attending these meetings took. Jonathan was late at times because something came up, or he had to leave early because he had to attend another meeting. And yet, he found time to squeeze us in among all the other things he was doing. As a person who is meeting averse, I watched him attending one meeting after another on Zoom, again, moving from one meeting to another all day long and into the evenings. Personally, one Zoom meeting a week was about my limit. I marvel at the number that he sometimes attended in one day.
Jonathan was very supportive of the work we did in adult education, in the Adult Education Committee, especially during our forums on race. Both those offered in person in 2016 and those online during COVID. He eagerly supported the worship service we planned. He personally coordinated all the technical pieces of that Zoom service, even redoing some of it Saturday evening before Sunday morning broadcast. I was impressed when Jonathan was vulnerable and shared mistakes he had made in the past regarding issues of race. He seemed determined to learn so that he would not make those mistakes in the future. While he accepted that mistakes are bound to be made in the future, he really wanted to get it right. We applaud the honest efforts he made, and we're pleased to have him join us in becoming anti-racist allies. Jonathan sat in on classes as time allowed, and he taught some classes during the 9 o'clock Sunday morning hour, the last one just this morning, as he shared his reflections of his time at FCC.
Adult Ed has been blessed by your support, Jonathan. Thank you for all you have done to provide learning opportunities here at FCC. Thank you.
So John asked me to share with you guys this morning a little bit about my call to ministry. I can't possibly do that in 3 minutes. So, Jordan and Miles, if you see Dan coming after me with that crook, I need you to stall him, please.
There we go.
When Jesus was baptized in the Jordan, he heard a voice from heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." Matthew 3:17. These words revealed the true identity of Jesus as the beloved. I understand now that the words spoken to Jesus when he was baptized are words spoken to each one of us. And sometimes my own human tendency towards self-rejection makes it hard to hear these words and let them descend fully into the center of my heart. Yet when I am able to receive these words fully, I'm set free from needing to prove myself to the world. I can live in the world without belonging to it. Once I've accepted this truth that I am God's beloved child, unconditionally loved, I can be sent into the world to share the good news with others. John Morgan helped me to receive these words fully in the depth of my being. I felt called to ministry throughout my life. At the same time, I never believed myself quite worthy of becoming a minister as vocation. Too sinful. Made too many mistakes. Turned my back on God one time too many. But John helped me to see that although I struggle in my humanness, God never turns away from me. God keeps loving, inviting, and hoping. And through our ministry together, we've borne witness to the movement of the Holy Spirit in all the circles of this community. We've seen God's love show up in the darkest of places, illuminating lives in mysterious ways well beyond our comprehension. As I witnessed this happening over these many years of John's ministry, especially through all the ways that we love one another in this beloved congregation, my own inner wall of resistance began crumbling. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of healing, to bring love and light. It's a wonderful thing to be in the flow of God's love, to experience that firsthand. While difficult and challenging, certainly, it's always an honor and privilege to serve others, to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly. God's love for us is perfect. And because we've known such love, we often expect the same love from our siblings in Christ, from those most dear to us, and especially from our pastors. There were times when I expected this perfection from John and felt let down when he couldn't actually walk on water. But you see, it may have been precisely in John's imperfection that I was able to respond affirmatively to my own call. I became more aware of our brokenness as human beings, of my own brokenness. John enabled me to look into my wounds. He showed me that there was light coming through them. Light that others needed to see. Light capable of spiritual transformation. He showed me that recognition of our brokenness is often the first step towards liberation. At one of our Seekers meetings several years ago, I said something that we've joked about ever since. I shared with the group that I'd come to the realization that if John can be a pastor, maybe I could too. Don, you can attest to that. I know it sounds pretty bad, yet there was a deeper truth in my sharing. John had shown me that being a pastor is not about being perfect. Rather, it is paradoxically an acceptance of one's own fallibility that enables a pastor to then be present for others, guiding them in the way of love, creating the sacred space between for spirit to move. Pastors are prepared to embrace suffering because they have surrendered to their own humanity and chosen vulnerability. So too, all people of faith must be prepared to embrace suffering along with joy. And although shepherds have the best of intentions, their love will never live up to the love we experience through Christ, the love which is as readily available as our very next breath. So what are we to do then with our imperfection? I believe Don Gall said it best last week when he spoke of farewells. You see, he wasn't only speaking about saying goodbye. In his sage wisdom, he was also cleverly sharing with us about what it means to minister to one another, to be the body of Christ in the world. He was talking about agape love and koinonia, expressing gratitude, forgiving, receiving forgiveness, and loving. We, the people of faith, become the hands and hearts of pastoral care. This is the way of Jesus. And John recognized that I could see this path. At times, though, I needed him to hold the flashlight. For my vision was not always clear. Yet John has, these parts are, he's always said to me the same 4 words about my call. I have no doubt. But John, I just don't know if I'd be able to handle all the suffering you bear witness to, all the pain and hurt, all the stress. I don't know if I could actually officiate funerals. I really don't know if I can lead faith exploration all by myself. I'm not sure I'm ready to preach a sermon. At every step of the way, there was John saying the same. I have no doubt you have a pastor's heart. So John, thank you. Thank you for seeing my brokenness and letting me know it's okay to be broken and that in fact, we all are. Thank you for affirming my gifts and for encouraging me, especially when I found myself walking in the dark woods. You were there for me, for us. The late theologian Henry Nouwen, who I had the privilege of meeting in my youth, often spoke of courage. The word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which means heart. A courageous act is an act coming from the heart. A courageous word is a word arising from the heart. Christians are called to a prophetic life, one of courage, centered in the heart. For Jesus did not come to condemn the world, but rather to show God's love for it. This is the story of the resurrection. Love conquering all darkness, even death. It's the story that John's been sharing with us all along. Jonathan, Lisa, thank you for giving us your hearts. And in our receiving of that love, opening our own hearts, preparing us to claim our own calls so that we too might follow in the way of Jesus. Know that your love lives on in our hearts here in Eugene, just as it goes with you. Though the miles may separate, nothing can separate us from that love. May it be so.
But Jonathan is not all serious all the time. I think you know he has a pretty good sense of humor, so we have decided to do a song, and we chose a tune from a children's song, which is befitting a new grandfather, the Hokey Pokey.
We called a new pastor in and got a great soprano too. We said a little prayer and the pastor took us on. That's what church is all about.
We gave the pastor's heart to guide us with great love.
We said a little prayer and the pastor helped us through. That's what church is all about. We brought a new board in, sent the old board out. We said a little prayer and the pastor took us on. We do the holy shuffle and we listen for God's word. That's what church is all about.
We saw the gate and brought it to new homes.
We said a little prayer and the pastor took us on. That's what church is all about. Plus doors, sent the people up to Zoom. We said a little prayer and the pastor shifted gears. That's what church is all about. We brought another board on and sent the old board out. We said a little prayer and the pastor took us on. We do the holy shuffle and we listen for God's word. That's what church is all about.
Put the more tack in, we're through the old ways of church.
We said a little prayer and the pastor led the way. That's what church is all about.
We opened up our doors. All are welcome here.
We said a little prayer and the pastor gave a cheer. That's what church is all about. We brought another board on. We sent the old board out. We said a little prayer and the pastor gave us on. Do the holy shuffle and we listen for God's word. That's what church is all about.
It's been 9 long years, now it's time to say goodbye.
We say a little prayer as our pastor makes his way. That's what church is all about.
It's time to put our hopes right in our cave and throw out our fears right out already.
We say a little thanks to our pastor shown the way. That's what
this church is all about.
Just briefly, I too want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. What an amazing adventure that we've all been on together. Thank you for embracing us, welcoming us, feeding us, making us laugh, helping us sing. We have loved, loved, loved being here. It's been a wonderful journey with Jonathan. What I can say to you all is he is the real deal. He loves you. He doesn't hold anything back. And I have loved watching him love you, and in the process, I love you too. So thank you so very, very much for our time here. We will never, never forget you. And just for 1 minute, I want to ask my son Nathan, our son Nathan, to come up. He's the oldest PK in the family. He's holding down the fort, as all PKs do. He has made some gifts for his dad, and I just want him to be able to tell you about them briefly, and he will put them up here, and you will be able to view them when we're all done.
Well, I don't have a hokey pokey ready.
Thank goodness for that.
My father is your minister, as you all know. But to me, he's my dad. He's my inspiration. Because of him, I'm able to do what I do. I'm able to stand up in here and talk about it because of his ministry. I know that he's meant a lot to each and every one of you. He means even more to me. The profession that I have in drawing and entertainment came from one of his stories. Morgan's Organs. You can ask him to tell you about it later. It requires me to put my best foot forward emotionally into the world and try to convey millions of ideas in simple pictures. So I've created a couple simple pictures for him that I hope to convey just how I feel about him and his ministry.
Can't wait.
The first is a portrait I've done of my father.
Wow.
tried to make him look a little bit sexier than he does. The second picture is a continuation of a series of pictures I've done for my father. One you may have all seen at his office, which is him standing in front of a blank wall, which is my interpretation of what it's like to come up with a new idea with the same material day in and day out for all of you. One that connects to the world as we know it and the world within his own mind. So now this picture is about putting that project away and opening himself up to what comes next. So as you can see, the little girl who's holding my father's hand is my new niece, Lily, who represents the next step in our family's journey together. And the open door, of course, allowing my father to move forward until his new career as a national race car driver.
Thank you, Nathan.
So, you know, I always like to, wherever I go as a moderator, I always like to bring a song. And knowing that what I was going to be doing today, I was like, I need to have a song, God. What should I sing? So while I'm sitting here, listening to all of you give your heartfelt thank yous and share the way that both Lisa and John have shepherded you. In the beginning, I was thinking, maybe I want to do this for Jonathan, but then without Lisa, would Jonathan be? Without Lisa, would his shepherd's heart be? Probably, but maybe not so much. Who knows? Might have been a race car driver, right? So, this song means a lot to me because I think about the people that shepherded me, that raised me up, my grandma. The people who saw me in the churches that I attended on my own, who helped me learn to find my voice as a singer, as a teacher, as a moderator. And so Lisa and John, you know, it's the really good thing is that people who write lyrics for songs, those lyrics live on. And they speak what we can't say, right? And so you may have heard this, and I'm going to change the words at the end, but here you go. I dreamed I went to heaven, and you were there with me. We walked upon the streets of gold, beside the crystal sea. We heard the angels singing, then someone called your name. You turned and saw this young man, and he was smiling as he came. And he said, friend, you may not know me now. Then he said, but wait, you used to teach my Sunday school when I was only 8. And every week you would say a prayer before the class would start. And one day when you said that prayer, I asked Jesus in my heart. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. Then another man stood before you and said, remember the time a missionary came to your church. His pictures made you cry. You didn't have much money, but you gave it anyway. Jesus took that gift you gave, and that's why I'm here today. Oh, thank you for giving to the Lord. I am a life that was changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. I am so glad you gave. One by one they came, far as the eye could see. Each life somehow touched by your generosity. Little things that you had done, sacrifices you made, are noticed on the earth, in heaven now proclaimed. I know you're not supposed to cry, but I am almost sure there were tears in your eyes as Jesus took your hand and you stood before the Lord. He said, my child, look around you, for great is your reward. Thank you for giving to the Lord. These are the lives you have changed. Thank you for giving to the Lord. They are so glad you gave. Do you know it? Thank you for giving to the Lord. Here it is. They are the lives you have changed. Oh, thank you for giving to the Lord. They are so glad you gave. Oh, we are so glad you gave. And the church said, what you say? All right now.
are just about done. Polly, Steve, and I.
Can't hear you.
Oh, jeez. Okay, we're just about done. Thank you, Cinta, for that. That was beautiful. We're just about done. Polly, would you please come up and do what you... By the way, Polly organized so much of this, and so I would like to acknowledge her effort and her creativity and connecting with everybody.
Mary asked me to present Jonathan this picture. It's a picture of this quilt on behalf of the board, who's doing it on behalf of the whole congregation. And I really appreciate Mary coming up here because I think her banner ministry is just the most beautiful ministry. This verse is the verse that Jonathan requested when Mary asked him what would he like at his installation. And what it always makes me think of is Jonathan has told us time and again that the most essential part of his ministry is that he has to be in relationship with his flock. They have to want to walk with him. And you've heard today, he's not a top-down leader. He's very comfortable with shared leadership. And the whole approach is we're in this together. And I think you have facilitated the growth of lay leadership in our church, Jonathan. So we'll present you with your picture. By the way, we wanted to give him the whole quilt, but it just didn't work in his new home.
I want to thank you for all of the contributions you made for this memory book for Jonathan and Lisa. There are 87 people represented in this book, and I had the pleasure of putting it together, so I've read them, and stunning stories about Jonathan and what he's meant to all of you and to me. So I was thinking, you know, Jonathan, if you read one of these a day from now on, you'd have almost 3 months before you'd get through all of them. I think that'd be really cool to do. So, a really great memory book. Thank you.
And so we also have one final gift for Jonathan and Lisa, and that is what we call a parting purse. And these are people who freely gave to a fund for Jonathan and for Lisa. And I have the down payment here, and what I am told that there's more to come. So anyway, it's a small token of our appreciation to you and something that can facilitate your new career as well, I'll leave it to you. And I just want to say from the perspective of your moderator that the last 6 months have been a wonderfully riotous experience. And I would say 90% of the time, Jonathan and I start our day together. We have a short check-in. What's the agenda for the day? How's everybody going? Etc. And what I want to say is that through all the challenges and difficulties, Jonathan has kept that spirit of confidence. He's kept that spirit of saying, what is best for the church is what I am all about. And to take that to heart for each one of you, because I've taken it to heart for myself. Jonathan cares so deeply for this church and for our future, and for that I'm so thankful. So thankful, Jonathan.
Wow. First, I need to, because it'll be a long ride home. Lisa didn't know about that encounter at the Home Depot with the woman.
She said, "Can I help you?" I literally thought she was a member of staff. She was a really good salesperson. I was consistent, kind, message was spot on. I knew exactly where she was coming from. It was terrific. I thought, if churches could do this, we could go around at Home Depot and tell, no, I'm probably not. I want to thank everyone here, as well as those who had to leave early, for this amazing day. I said earlier that this feels to me like the launching of this church. And it just does. It feels as though this energy is moving forward. And that does my heart good. It really, really does. And I'm so grateful for everyone who spoke. And there were so many, I'd lost track. I think the board, I'm not sure you instilled confidence with that dance, but it was absolutely lovely. And what I think you have to do is at the end of every worship service, get in a big circle around the sanctuary and do the hokey pokey. Well, I need to thank so many people, and I'm going to forget certainly our speakers, everyone who spoke. I really, really am touched by what you said. And Nathan, for this amazing artwork. Oh my word. Man, I look sexy. Can't keep my eyes off of me. More hair next time would be helpful. I'm not sure, is Chef Patty still here?
She had to go.
She had to go, but Dana and crew.
The crew.
Crew, stand up, please. Man, that was really something to come together, and we didn't have quite enough, but that's wonderful.
She's sorry about that. She said to bring more food next time.
All right. I want to thank our leadership, our board, our leaders, everyone who's made this ministry possible, certainly our staff. God, they're amazing. Tyler said the third year of COVID was the hardest for many churches and pastors, and it's true. It's true. I don't know why that is, but it's true. And without all of you, we wouldn't be here. Think of the energy we just felt today. Yes, it's sad. Yes, we're feeling it. I'm feeling it. But I also feel hope. Hope for this ministry. Hope for all of you. I'm so grateful for all of you. And to have walked with you for the past 9.5 years, it's just been an absolute blessing. And speaking of which, I was at the goodbye party for Lisa. She works at a surgery center, and her colleagues met, and everyone that came to me, almost the entire staff, said the same thing. They said, she changed us. She changed us. Through her care, through her love, through her example of how we should treat one another. She changed us. I wasn't at all surprised. When we first got together, and I think I was 18 and she was 12. And I said to her in our first phone conversation, I think I want to be a pastor. And she didn't hang up on me. And she went on to say that, she was actually interested in ministry herself. And made the conscious choice not to go that path with me. Some do. Some couples do. It's not easy, but some couples do. But oh my God, what a ministry she's had. What an amazing ministry. You know, there are so many ways. Even this past week, she was helping a family with a medical crisis, and she just does it. She doesn't ask questions why, she just does it. Who are we helping? Always that first. And what a joy it is to be able to walk with Lisa. Thank you. And Nathan was here to represent the rest of the siblings. And oh my God.
A chip off the old block.
I guess so. Thank you. That was so incredible. You know, it's hard being a preacher's kid. It really is hard because no matter where I go, I'm always a preacher.
Yes.
And so wherever I am, I'm the pastor. And this, you know, the kids have to sort of share me. And there was a moment when I learned that in my first ministry in Glastonbury, Connecticut. I was working with a senior minister who was 6'5", and he was known to talk to people this close. And I used to watch in the office as they would back up, and hit the wall. He was a threatening character, but not to 3-year-old Nathan. So when I went to pick him up at the nursery with big Carl next to me, and I'm picking up Nathan, Nathan looks at Carl and says, "He's my father!" 3 times, "He's my father!" To which Carl says, "Okay, okay."
He's still scared of me.
You know, it's... Thank you, Nathan, for being the man you are. I'm so proud of you. And I'm so grateful for our beautiful children and grandchild. Did you know I had a grandchild? So there's a lot I could say. I'm reminded of that first supper in 2013. When Scott Johnson was one of the ones asking the question. You know, the people were asking questions, getting to know me. Some of the questions are hard, but Scott's sort of hit the nail on the head. He said, "Piercings, tattoos, how many?" I knew I was in Eugene. And you might remember that when we got to the airport in Hartford, Connecticut, I forgot that it was the beginning of the February or April, I think April vacation. And so the line literally went out the door of the airport. And I said, "Lisa, we're not going to make our flight." And I went up to the flight people and they said, "No, you're not going to make your flight." And so I said, "Well, tonight is that big supper. They're going to meet me. What do we do?" Lisa immediately said, she said, "Take a carry-on, just go straight to the gate. We'll meet you eventually." And she arrived a day later. Says a lot about Lisa. Says a lot about me too, because I ended up taking my daughter's suitcase. And she's not my size. And I said to the congregation gathered there, I said, "I want you to know, if you hire me, when the going gets tough, I get going." But in truth, that's what I've tried to do. You know, these 3 years of COVID have been so hard. Jennifer Yoakum, fellow pastor, friend. Man, it was tough. It was really, really, really tough. It wore out pastors, it wore out congregations. And I did everything I could to keep going. And I am so happy for all of you. Because I can feel the future. I can see it. And it's so bright. It's so bright. I don't know what it is. But it'll be amazing. Because everything you need is right here. Each heart and God's Spirit. You've got this. And thank you. Thank you for the ways that you honored us today. Thank you for the ways you support this ministry. Thank you for the laughter. Thank you for the dancing. I don't think I'll ever forget that. Thank you. My life is blessed. So what about next week? You know, it is strange. This is a strange time. Lisa and I have said that this is both sad and incredibly happy and grateful. And it's just every emotion. All the emotions here. And it's real. It's real. And that's what church is. God bless you all.
God bless you.